Hey friends, we are going to be looking at rounding to two significant figures, but this time we're going to have a lot of nines in the number, so let's get started. Alright, first question. We're still going to use exactly the same strategy as we normally do. We're going to look for the second significant figure, decide its place value, and then look at the decider, deciding if we're going up or down. Now, because there's more nines in this video, you're going to see that we may have to round up, for example, as you'll see in this example. So the first significant figure is this 9, the second one is this 9 here. The place value is in the hundreds column. So what we can say is we're rounding to the nearest 100. So 9,900, if you add 100 to that, that gives you 10,000. Now, because the digit after the second significant figure is a 0, that's the deciding digit, we're not going to round up. This is just going to be 9,900 to two significant figures. Okay, next example here. 9,099. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, there we go. So the second significant figure is 0, which is in the hundreds column, rounding to the nearest 100. So we can sketch a number line if it helps you. So it's going to be 9,000 or 9,100. And we can see the deciding digit is a 9 there, so we're going to round up to 9,100. Because we know that 9,099 is going to be somewhere there on the number line. Okay, next, 9,990. Have a go first, and then I'm going to show you the answer. Okay, so that's the second significant figure. The decider is a 9, so we're going to round up. Now, this is, again, in the hundreds column. So rounding to the nearest 100 is going to be 9,900 or 10,000. So in this case, it's going to be 10,000 because the decider is a 9. And we can see that 9,990 would be somewhere around here on a number line, so that would round up. Okay, next example, 9.99. What would this round to? Have a go first, and then I'm going to show you the answer. Okay, so this is the second significant figure, and we know that this is in the tenths column, so rounding to the nearest 0.1. So it's either going to be 9.9. Now if you add 0.1 to that, it becomes 10. We don't write 0.0, it's just 10. So here, because the decider is a 9, we round up to 10. So this will approximate to 10 when we're rounding to 2SF. Okay, next example. Pause the video and have a go first. Alright, so the first significant figure is the first non-zero digit. The second significant figure is this one here, and that is in the 0.001 column, or the thousandths column, and we're going to round to the nearest thousandths. So this is going to be 0.090 or 0.091. So because the decider is a 9, we're going to round up. So this is going to be 0.091 to two significant figures. Okay, last example before you do some varied activities on this. So pause the video and have a go first. Alright, here comes the answer. First significant figure, second significant figure. The decider is a 9. Now let's just look at the place value first. 1, 2, 3 is going to be 0.001, so the nearest thousandths. So it's going to be 0.099. Now if you add 0.001 to that, that becomes 0.1000. So normally we wouldn't write these zeros here, but in this case we're going to keep them just in our working out because you'll see when we write our answer. And we're going to see that because the deciding digit is a 9, it means we have to round up. So this is what we want to give our answer to. However, we want 2 significant figures in our answer. So this is going to be 0.10, and we don't write the other 0 here, but we do have to write this 0 in particular. So 0.10 is going to be your answer here. Go back to this, try that again. So for this number, we're going to take a minute to work this out. Okay, here comes the answer. So this is a bit of a special case, might be not as obvious as the other questions. So you shouldn't worry about getting something like this in an exam, but it's just good to know. So first of all, the first significant figure is the 9. The second significant figure is this 9. And this is in the thousandth column, so 0.001. We're rounding to the nearest 0.001. So here we're going to write 0.099. When you add 0.001 to that, you get 0.100. Now normally we don't write those these zeros here, the trailing zeros, but in this case we are going to keep them here just to make a point that we've rounded it to 2 significant figures. So the answer here is a special case here. We're going to write this is 0.100. Now normally, like I said, we don't normally have those, but in this case we have to keep them in there. So that's the answer to 2 significant figures. Okay, so that's why we have a separate video on this, because it's a different method, different seeming method. Right, so true or false? Have a look through all of these questions and then we're going to go through whether they are true or false. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so let's go through the answers here. 9,909 to 2 significant figures. It's going to be 9,900. This is correct. This is true. Second question. 9,099 to 2 significant figures is 9,100. This is true because the deciding digit is a 9, so we have to round up. 9,990 becomes 10,000 to 2 significant figures. This is also correct. 9.99 to 2 significant figures does become 10, so this is true. Next question, 0.09099 to 2 significant figures is 0.091. This is true. And then the last one. So here we're going to look at the second significant figure, which is this 9 here, the middle one. And that means we're going to round to the nearest 0.001. So that becomes 0.099. And if you add 0.001 to that, that becomes 0.100. So this is actually the same question as we done on the previous slide. So this is going to stay as 0.100. So this is false. This should be 0.100. That's the correct answer. Okay, so have a go with this, checking whether these are true or false. Okay, I'm going to go through some answers with you now. So the first one is going to be true. The second one is false, it should be 4,000. The third one is false, it should be 0.50. Now you do need to have that zero. That zero there needs to be there. It's not just 0.5. Question D is false. It should be 0.10. And again, that zero there is very important. This is where students go wrong in tests and exams. Question E, this is going to be 10. And then question F is false. It should be 1,000. Okay. That is the true or false. Have a go with this question. These three questions, and I'm going to show the answers in a second. 3, 2, 1. All right, these are the answers. Hopefully you got those correct. And we're going to do a quick exercise here. Round all of these numbers to two significant figures. I'm going to show the answers in 5 seconds. Pause the video if you need more time. Here come the answers. Check your work. Give yourself a tick. And then one more bonus activity, just because you're brilliant subscribers. The bonus activity is for you to try this. Rounding fractions. So you need to turn some of these fractions into decimals first, and then you've also got recurring. So have a go with this. This is just a bonus exercise for you guys. Special treat. Okay, here come the answers for this. Check you have done it correctly. And I'm going to move on in 3, 2, 1. Okay, last exercise. Fill in the blanks. This is basically working in reverse. So if these have been rounded to two significant figures and these are the answers, what could the question have been? Just like the exercise you did in the previous video, some of these will have more than one answer. So for example, some of these might have more than one digit that goes in the blank. So have a go now, and then I'm going to go through the answers. After that, you will have mastered this topic, the rounding to significant figures. All right, so the first one, 0.99. So this is going to have to be 98. Because the decider is the 6, and that 6 means the 8 becomes a 9. For B, 210, well, this has to round up. So this can be anything from 5 to 9. And this has to be a 2. The next one, now because we know that has to round up, and we've got a deciding digit of 5, this is going to have to be a 2, which then becomes a 3 when you round it. Question D. Okay, for question D, we know that we're going to get 0.95. Well, this is going to have to be a 9 here, because it doesn't round up. And then here, in order to make the 4 or 5, this can be any digit from 5 to 9. Question E. This has to round up to 1,000. So what could it be? So we know that, for example, if this was 905, and the two significant figures would be 900, so that doesn't work. How about 955? Does that work? The two significant figures would be 9, that would be to the nearest 10. So this is going to have to be a 9. So it's going to have to be 995, because that will force it to round up to 1,000. You can have a go with that question if you're not sure. Hopefully you've tried these ones as well. So for question F, we're going to get, we know that this is going to stay as a 0. 6, if we keep that as a 6 and, for example, try a 9 here, that wouldn't work, because that would give you, and that would end up giving you 0.07. So we know that this is going to have to be a 0. That's going to be our answer, because this would be our first significant figure, this would be our second significant figure, and the decider means that we're not changing that 0. The next one is to make that 1.0, so that's going to be 0.996, and then these are going to round to 4.0, so if we make that a 0, and then this following decider cannot round that 0 up, so it has to be anything from 0 to 4. And those are your answers for this exercise. Okay, smash the like button, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next video where we're looking at estimating. So at this point, you will have mastered significant figures if you have followed the playlist. Smash the like button.